Well, thank you, Neil and Kevin, for doing this, and really appreciate you guys for taking on this task of sharing our story of what we've been experiencing over the last 3 years and 10 months and counting. Uh, I'm a CPA by profession. I'm also a chartered accountant from India. We migrated here to the United States. I came here about 30 years ago, and around the same time, my wife also came. And we both met here in the US, and we decided to get married. And Sheba was up in New York, and I was here in San Francisco, San Jose Bay Area. And I said, she was excited to move here. And we began our life together since 2003. We have a wonderful 16-year-old daughter. Her name's Abigail, and she was born in 2008. And she's a junior in high school. And we've been long-term residents of San Jose, California. And, we have...
Sheba?
Okay.
Go ahead, Sheba.
Hi, my name is Sheba, and I moved here from New York to have a better life in California. I mean, it's not that I didn't have a better life in New York. I loved New York too, but my husband said nothing like the Bay Area. So I moved here, leaving all my relatives back home, and wanted to start a beautiful life here in the Bay Area, and found a job. I work as a pediatric trauma ICU nurse at Valley Medical Center. And now, since 1 year, I've transitioned to be a case manager for California Children's Services. That's a subsidiary of Medi-Cal. And we've been living in this neighborhood for the last, 21 plus years. And
that's what I was going to ask next. Yeah, okay. So just to put this in perspective, so this all has to do with a neighbor of yours. So Koshy, why don't you tell us, you don't need to give us an address, obviously, please don't, but the general area where you're living in. And I want you to know this is the Bay Area, which is one of the most diverse, one of the most accepting communities that I've ever lived in. I lived in the Bay Area for 40 years before I moved. So Koshy, go ahead and tell us the scenario. What is happening and how did it start? And let's jump right into it. Just give us a brief highlights, and then we can go into some details here or there.
Well, we'll do. So we live in District 10 of San Jose, California, which is essentially Silicon Valley.
And so who is your city council representative?
The city council representative is a person by the name of Arjun Batra.
Okay, so an Indian too, right? Yeah,
an Indian,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and by the way, we should clarify that, as you can probably see, ethnically, Koshy and Shiva are Indians just like me. And so they hail from India originally. Arun is also a city councilman, District 10, also an Indian. So just put that in context. Yeah.
Arjun.
Sorry.
So this all started, Neil and Kevin, on the 30th of November, 2020. At around 10 o'clock in the morning, we had a knock on our door, and this was COVID time. So I opened the door. I was making breakfast for my daughter, and it was our next door neighbor, who happens to be an attorney in Santa Clara County and also is an ex-United States Marine. I said, "Oh, hi, how are you?" I won't give his name, but I said, and then he started abusing me, the filthiest of abuses. My daughter was standing beside me, and then he said, "I am done." He said, he pointed his finger and said, "I'm done with you. I'm going to make sure that you will lose your CPA license. I'll make sure that you are only fit for mowing lawns and flipping hamburgers, and I'm going to put you in jail." I was like shocked. I said, what in the world has happened? And then since I was making breakfast, I was making some waffles or something like that. I had some dough on my hand, and I said, I didn't want my daughter to hear all these filthy abuses that just came like a barrage at us. I shut the door, made breakfast, quieted my daughter down. My daughter was saying, "Dad, why is this one so putting you in prison?" I said, "Listen, don't worry about it." I calmed her down, and then went back to my office room, and I had a barrage of texts. I had emails threatening me, and then I had a couple of voicemails. I picked up the phone, and it was the arborist. The arborist and his team were actually working in our backyard to take down 2 palm trees on our property, which were real problem palm trees. These trees were, they were roof rats that were jumping onto our roof from these trees that are closest to our house. There's 6 palm trees on our property and evergreen pines. These roof rats were creating a total havoc. My wife told me, "Hey, you are in town. I'm traveling around the globe a lot in my profession. My wife said, you're here, you are all grounded. Why don't you take care of these trees? So we called an arborist. We found them on Nextdoor, and we called him, and he looked at it. He said, yeah, these are unwanted trees in San Jose.
So just to clarify, these were, you're allowed to remove these trees. You know,
Yes.
some of you don't live in California, don't realize how tightly they control all this stuff, but these trees were absolutely removable, right?
Yes.
And you were getting an arborist, a licensed arborist to do this. So
Yes,
it's not like
yes.
you were going out there with an axe or anything.
No.
yourself, right?
No. So they came with a team of about 9 or 10 people, and these are tall trees. So they were there up there just chopping down the tree. The first tree got chopped down. That's when this fellow saw it. And that's what caused him to knock the door. I am clueless. Like, these guys are taking care of their work, and we are inside the house. So I was
Now, just to clarify, is the tree on his side or near his house or anything?
no. Both the trees are a good 500 yards away. It's on our property. These are single family homes.
Right. So it's on the other side of the property from his property.
Totally.
Okay.
Totally. So he lives on the west side of our property. These trees are on the east side of the property.
Okay. So there's a house in between them. Your house.
Yeah. I mean, the square footage of the whole property is about 10,100 square feet.
Okay.
With lots of trees, and so these roof rats were causing a real hassle. And those days my wife was working crazy hours at the hospital, and she needed to.
Yeah, I mean, again, you don't need to justify why you want to take the tree. So, but you identified this as the cause of why he was angry with you, right?
Yeah. So at that point of time, the city was closed, and the arborist told us, you do not need a license, Mr. George, to take these trees down. This is in the list of unwanted trees.
The licensed arborist, right?
So that's what happened. And so we didn't bother. And so his contention was that this is a heritage tree. It's not heritage trees at all. And so the attack was on.
By the way, they're all over California.
Yeah.
These are everywhere.
Yeah. So, and then what he did was he chased away the arborist. He says, I'm going to file lawsuits against you. And those guys disappeared. And so the voicemail was about, hey, Mr. George, we don't want to do anything with your property. Your neighbor is giving us enough grief. We'll pay you back whatever you paid us also as advance. And they just left. And so our backyard was a mess for months. Any other contractor we brought on board, he would chase them away. I finally realized I needed to get a proper permit, which I got. I got for both the trees, the tree that got taken out, and we had a medical doctor's letter. And based on that, the city of San Jose gave us a permit to take both the trees down, plus clear all the debris. I called San Jose police. So on the day we took it out, that was on the 24th of March of 2021, we had the police. There were 3 police officers on site, and a whole lot of my friends came from Sacramento all the way to Gilroy to be supportive of what was happening. And this guy came out, and he was mad. He was mad that a brown guy like me would dare to do all this and call the police on him and all this kind of thing. So from then onwards started literally everyday harassment. We were not being allowed to get our garbage bin serviced and recycle bin serviced. Any guests coming to our home, he would start saying, get out of here, go back to India, water your buffaloes, you are rats from a third world country.
This is very racist. I mean,
yes.
Let's make sure people understand these are really racist. And by the way, we will post some pictures to back up Mr. George's claims here. So, because we do our research here, we don't want to just say anybody who says, "Oh, somebody called me a racist." We're actually going to give you some evidence there. Yeah.
So you are a blighted people from a third world country. Get out. We don't want you here. We are Americans. Remember, we are Americans. We don't want you here. Okay. And this kept on happening. Some of the things were utter profanity. For example, he would stand on the easement and say, "Where are your balls? Did you have them cut up and swallowed?" Okay. And then he would lift up his fist and say, "Come and fight me like a man. Put down your camera and come and fight me like a man." But I used to hold my iPhone up every time he was doing all this kind of stuff. So this is the kind of provocation. And this is a person who is an ex-Marine, as I said, 78 years old, but looks as healthy like a 30, 35-year-old, very strong. But that's not the image he puts down in the criminal court. Let me say, in the criminal court, he comes as though he's hard of hearing, he's old. It's a pretense. The same guy, when he's on our easement, he's in military fatigue all the time. and which means Marines. Marines don't have necessarily the same army fatigue, but his is like tight shorts and with his Marines cap, and he threatens the whole neighborhood. Our entire neighborhood is frightened of this guy.
So tell us about that. Tell us about, because some of the pictures I saw were him putting stuff in the driveway. Yes. And I remember when we came to do our taxes, that was all in the driveway. And I asked you, what is that, right? Because I couldn't park anywhere. There was no place for me to park.
Yes. So let me tell you, what he did was he put up an effigy of the Hindu goddess Kali. Kali is the goddess of death in India. I mean, India is a country with Hindus who have, different deities that they worship. And so the eastern part of India worships the goddess Kali. And she has her tongue sticking. If you can do a search on goddess Kali, you'll see a person with the tongue sticking out, red tongue sticking out. And it's a very good, it's an image of death. And every Indian understands that. I have lived in India all my life before I moved to the United States. I saw that it was a death threat towards us. And what he did was, there's a spurious lawsuit he filed against us. He stuck it on the back of that effigy. This effigy was placed on a wheelbarrow with stones in it, big stones. And it was placed on the center of the common easement. There's a common easement between 5 houses in a subdivision. And he placed it there so everybody could see this. So it is open defamation. And then he put the spurious lawsuit in every neighbor's letterbox to make us look bad.
And what was the lawsuit? The lawsuit was against you? Against what?
Against me and my wife.
Okay.
Against my practice as a CPA.
What was he claiming? What was he claiming?
Well, he says that me and my wife are running a fictitious, a fraudulent CPA practice. My wife has nothing to do with my CPA practice. She's a
But first of all, how does he get to file a lawsuit? That's something you tell the city, and the city looks into it. But how can you file a lawsuit what standing does he have to file a lawsuit? Unless he's
a lawyer. He's a lawyer, and you'll be amazed. There's so much to tell. I don't know how much we can cover in half an hour, but what this guy does is, he says he's a lawyer with a rock star standing in San Jose, and nobody can question whatever allegations he makes. Whatever allegations he makes are absolutely true. That's what he claims, and he comes at it with that attitude. If a judge goes against him, he hammers the judge. If he shoots down our own attorneys with all kinds of skullduggery he indulges in.
So let's talk about that. So, I mean, normally if somebody goes to court with a frivolous lawsuit, the judge will figure out that this has nothing to do with it. Or if they come and they check out your license and they realize that you're not doing anything fishy, that would all go away. So explain how this man manages to keep this in the court, and why nothing is happening to protect you? Because you've obviously gone and said, look, this guy's a racist. He's trying to hassle us. I mean, have you talked to the mayor? Have you talked to the DA? Tell us about that.
Oh, yeah. I've been to the mayor. I've been to the DA several times. And it's a very slow process, Neil, the whole judicial system. And he knows the system by the back of his hand, and he knows how to play it.
And by the way, full transparency, I'm a friend of the mayor, and I know the DA. So full transparency here. We've met, we've talked. They know who I am. And they are good people. So
yes.
I think what's happening here is that there's so much that this guy is doing behind the scenes, or that so it's not an easy task. This is why somebody needs to stop this with realizing this is a real racism. And the city needs to understand that this is racism at its root, and you need public opinion, and you need people to be to realize that it needs to be stopped. It's not something you can just say, oh yeah, we'll go through a lot of times the courts are afraid of more lawsuits, right? So tell us more about that. I mean, how come we can't see something being done?
I want to just interject. I think you forgot to mention just that during this harassment initially, what he did is use big strobe light, because our bedroom window, faces his garage. So what he would do is, like, in the nighttime, the strobe light goes on, no matter how much blind, we cover with the blinds, but still the light seeps in. And he would during the daytime, blast the radio to the max. And that during that time, Abby used to have, homeschooling because of the COVID restriction. And he would bring the little boom box with the extension cord closer to our garage. And every time we call the cops, he would say, "Oh, we are not. They're not Americans. They don't know what music is." And the
We're not
more,
American. That's
yeah,
racist.
yeah, and the more we call the cop, the more the next time the volume increases. And I used to dread coming home after, working COVID hours in the hospital. I used to dread because he would wait in the middle of the Eastman. He knows exactly what time the cars come in, what time we leave out, because he's watching us 24/7 with the binoculars. Even to now, to this day, this is what he does, which is with his binoculars. Way knows every timing of ours, the time we return, and by the time my car returns or his car returns, he throws objects in the easement. He stands and blocks. He's done so much damage. That's why I'm surprised how he's getting away with all that. I mean, we have a restraining order against him, but
Yeah,
he
so
manages.
yeah, and I think part of this is that, as and I want to talk about the effect on Abby at some point for sure.
Yeah.
But so explain, go back. So the cops show up, right? How come they don't have any teeth to stop this? So go back to that whole thing. Why is he so successful?
So this is what he does. When the cops come here, you public servant. This is what he does. You know who I am? I'm a rock star lawyer in San Jose. Do you know who I am? I'm a adjunct professor at Santa Clara Jesuit University. You know who I am? All the judges were my students, or many of the lawyers are my students, and me and the judges, we rolled together. These are some of his words. And then get out of my property. Do you know I went to Vietnam? Do you know I'm an ex-Marine? I went to Pepperdine for my MBA. So these are some of the things he does. And once he's done that, he says, I got a lawsuit against this fellow. I'm going to put him in jail. Okay, do you understand who you're fooling around with? The cops just twiddle their thumbs and they leave.
Yeah.
So they seem to have no way to stop, because what we really need is we need a law like saying this guy's acting like a racist.
Right.
He needs to stop. There needs to be some punitive consequences to actual racist acts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what we really need is we need a civil rights attorney to step in and hit the man with a lawsuit, a civil rights lawsuit against Koshy.
I told Civil Rights Department under Governor Newsom. I have told California versus Hate. It's an organization that Gavin Newsom has set up, and this fellow. And so all of our complaints, they talk to this guy, and he says, "Oh, I did not know that was a Hindu goddess. That was created by my grandchildren, 5-year-old and 6-year-old grandchildren." Nonsense. He lies.
Goddess of death. Yeah.
How can 5 and 6-year-old children make a metal plate? Okay, it's a metal plate, and design that stuff and stick it up there in a wheelbarrow full of stones. So he gets away with lies. He gets away with lies with his credentials. He brings up all his credentials. I went to Vietnam. I'm an ex-Marine. I've been 46 years of law practice here. I have no blemish. The reason he has no blemish is because he has this methodology of foul-mouthed language. And you won't believe what one of the sergeants in San Jose police told me. Mr. George, we are trying to get a word across to him, but he's like an AK-47. He keeps on talking. We don't even get a chance to talk back and explain.
It would seem that some criminal charges need to be filed in some way or something.
Yeah. There are two.
Nobody has it. Pardon?
He has been arrested once for violating the restraining order. We have a 7-year restraining order on the guy, and so so he's been arrested. There are 2 criminal charges against him, and guess what? He recently told the criminal court, and he uses the techniques of demurrer and excuses and
so all sort of lawyer techniques that we don't even know.
We don't
right.
Exactly, and he enjoys it. The day he comes back from the court, he'll be standing there and clapping his hands, laughing at me and Sheba. And then when we are coming in our car, he walks towards our car as though he's threatening, but he won't do anything. He knows how to rattle the cage as much. So it's
like threatening actions. Very, very, very similar to racist actions. It's the old KKK type of burning the cross on somebody's lawn. You never actually hurt them physically, because when you lynch them with the mob, you lynch them away from the camera. Today we have cameras everywhere, so you can't do anything physical because we know you'd catch him on the camera. But he is doing everything else that comes close to that. And so we really need to get some civilized rights attorney to move in. We need to get the government to move in. We need the mayor to start doing something or make an announcement. We need the the DA to start making some announcements and declaring it. But most of all, we need the public to pick this up. So we want you to share this on if you're sharing this video, we want you to share this with everybody. We want everybody to know about it. This has to become public because it's not right for anybody. Remember, if it can happen to one of us, it can happen to you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's happened to many
Especially if you're a person of color, if you're an Indian or black or Hispanic, and this white Marine Vietnam vet decides that he's going to pick on you, who's next, right? And it could be a white person too. Now understand, we would stand up for a white person being attacked by a black person too, or an Indian person. We will stand up for that because we're standing for justice and we're standing for truth.
Let me talk about a few things. What he did to our daughter. On the 21st of February, 2021, my daughter was standing outside. This is again COVID time. She was doing a school project. She was taking some pictures for the school. And this guy brought his SUV up to her and started racing it and looking her down very close, like very close. My child fled into the house and came into this very room where I'm sitting. And she said, "Dad, so-and-so is scaring me." I have never seen my child that scared. She's an outdoor kid. She roller skates. She surfs on the high seas. Okay, this is plays water polo. This child, from then onwards, Neil, started internalizing, and her grades dropped. There was a time when the school did not want to promote her to high school, but I dropped everything in my I said my profession. I'm a self-employed guy. I had to drop everything just to bring her grades back. Lo and behold, she's okay now. We have been examined by a forensic doctor, and the doctor fell off his chair seeing amount of stress we have been through over the last 3 years and 10 months. And these are all documented. And
So let me ask you this. So we understand that what the situation is. What can people do to help you? And Kevin, if you want to jump in at any time, please go ahead. How can people are listening to this? Hopefully enough people will hear this. How can they help you? What's the best thing they can do to help you?
I am shocked, Neil and Kevin, that such a person who is a lawyer in San Jose, has an MBA from Pepperdine, is been in this area practicing law for 46 years, can get away with this kind of open attitudes and behaviors. People have testified. On the day when we had a restraining order given to us, the judge, the Honorable Judge Shona Schwartz, she was emotional. She said, "Mr. George, do not mistake all of our armed forces to be like this." I said, "No, I come from a family of armed forces from back in India from generations. I have never seen any armed forces personnel ever behave like this." You know the number of people who have fled our neighborhood? Vietnamese, Indians, other race people, color, they've broken their leases. Those who are tenants of other homeowners, they've fled from here because of his behaviors towards them.
But you can't do that because you try to.
Let me ask this.
Good.
Let me ask this real quick. Have you thought about just putting your house for sale, moving, and just get a better place?
We did that for the sake of our daughter and for bringing her grades up. We were staying in an Airbnb in Campbell for a year. We never imagined we would stay there for a year. Every month, religiously, we were going out to see homes, and we couldn't find any home to rent on a more permanent basis so that we could rent this one. Then other people said, "What are you trying to do? Rent it. You lose your tenants in no time because he's going to give you more grief." Then we thought of selling the house. We put the house on the market. Okay. We were staying in an Airbnb. We used to come back because we just moved with our suitcases. All of our stuff is in our home. Our home was an empty home for a year. We were paying mortgage and property tax on this house plus $5,000 Airbnb rent every month for a year. We ran out of money. And that's when we decided to come back and fight this. And from then onwards, our problems have been compounded because he keeps complaining about our house to the city. I'll show you letters he's written to the city saying that this house needs to be red tagged. PG&E and electricity should be, water should be stopped. All lies about our home, that our house has got, what is that, Shiba?
Black mold. Black mold. Yeah.
But have you tried to sell it though? Have you just tried to put it on the market?
Yes,
we did.
We had Compass Realtors. He chased away the realtor. He chased away their staff. He would engage with 4 families who were interested in buying our home. We had a complete inspection done. We even gave full disclosure. Our attorney gave full disclosure about his behaviors and everything. Those people said, "Mr. George, we love your home." He would put nails on our driveway to dissuade these people from buying our home. And he would engage with them and say all kinds of malarkey about our home. And they said, "We don't find any fault with your home, but we know who your neighbor is. We don't want to live here because he's put lawsuits against you and it runs with the land. And there is no way that we know that if you leave, we buy your home, we will be in the same soup that you are." And so We are like on Guantanamo Bay, in a sense. Every day we are having a waterboarding kind of an experience of threats from this fellow. We can't leave our home. The moment we leave our home, he's out there making fun of us, trying to say stupid things and get us distracted. Or he'll play Freddie Mercury's Queen at the highest volume. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. But we don't let it bother us. But
let me say this. I'm really sorry for what you and your family have had to go through. This is torment and torture, in my opinion. This is racist and bigoted. And it's a shame that in this day and time, in a progressive city like San Jose,
Correct.
in a progressive state like California, we have these kinds of antics, and you haven't been able to do anything about it. It seems like the city and the city leadership and the judges and the attorneys, they can't do anything about this. And so we wanted to just expose people to the fact that people are still being tormented and abused to this very day. You unfortunately have this situation, but this really illuminates for everybody that, look, we still have a lot more. We still have a little bit ways to go. Everything's not kumbaya. I mean, we still have people that are being tormented and abused by neighbors and in other ways. And we should all, as good neighbors, look out for one another and be more conscientious about how we treat each other.
So coming back, Koshy and Sheba, what can people do to help you? Video, obviously they can share this video, they can spread the news, but talk to us about emails, talk to us about letters, talk to us, what can they do physically in response to this to help your cause?
I think the public should contact our Honorable Mayor Jeff Rosen. They should contact our Mayor
DA.
Matt Mahan.
DA.
The DA Jeff Rosen, our Mayor Matt Mahan, the sheriff, the police captains, write to them, and also to the State Bar of California. Why is
we'll put up emails. There'll be emails in the links below in the introduction below. Make sure I
have written to the State Bar of California 4 times with video evidence, with the restraining order, the judgment transcript of Judge Shona Schwartz saying so and so is a menace to society. She has literally said that. And the 27 people who he indulges in witness tampering. So, like, for example, in our court system, it's an open system, right? You have to give the list of witnesses and their addresses and phone numbers. He would call them up and threaten them from coming to the court. These are all being done by a licensed attorney of Santa Clara, of California. I have spoken to attorneys in Southern California, and they tell me, Mr. George, this would not happen in Southern California. We are shocked at the way the judicial system functions in Santa Clara County. That's what they would tell us.
Yeah, the judicial. So, Neil, to answer your question, I think someone needs to stop him in his tracks from this unnecessary lawsuits. Like, the State Bar should either get his license off, because he's a threat to a society. He's a threat to a common person. People fleeing the neighborhood. We're the only one that's staying put, but we are being harassed every day. Every day. Yeah, every day he makes these loud bangs against the fence just to rattle us. I mean, thank God, by the grace of God, we are not getting rattled, but we are stressed. This is immense stress on our mentally and physically for all 3 of us, and even for our little dog too, because every time a dog sees them, starts barking because she knows this man makes like a lot of noise and to disturb our peace. So he needs to be stopped in his tracks by stopping all the unnecessary lawsuits, take his license off. People need to reach out to Jeff Rosen and stop him.
So absolutely. So we need to write to the bar. We need to write to Jeff Rosen. We need to write to the mayor. We need to write to the sheriff. We'll have all these links down there. Let's wrap this up. I just want to, as Kevin said, it's just disgusting and sad and tragic. And I'm really sorry that you guys are going to have to go through this. We're obviously going to be praying that there is a quick resolution. It's been going on for 4 years now. So it's time that the state took. I mean, what is the purpose of the government? The purpose of the government is to protect your inalienable rights. I mean,
Yes.
Declaration of Independence says that to secure the rights. Now we get our rights from God, but they're inalienable rights, and the purpose of the government is to secure those inalienable rights. And the right to be able to live in peace is definitely one of them. It's an American thing. It's what the Americans have always believed in. And so for the American government, the state government, the county government, and the city government, not to be able to stop this, they need to come up with the ingenuitive ways to do this, because this is unacceptable. And if they get pressure, I believe they will act on it, because it has to be. They have to wake up every day going, "Well, we got to solve this problem. We got to solve this problem." Thank you. I want to wrap this up with a final word from both of you, and then Kevin, if you can give us a final word, and we'll wrap it up. What do you want to add?
You want to go, Sheba, and then I'll.
No, really, thank you for thinking about us. Thank you for bringing this forward, because we have tried to reach out to all government officials. Koshy has tried to reach out through, various social media, but justice has not been served. And we need justice because, like you said, this is America. This is a free country, and we tax-paying citizen, everybody has the right to live and breathe freely, and we want to do that. We want to wake up one day and not be tensed about walking out of a house and feeling that we are being watched, and we are not free to walk out and not mocked and harassed. We want to live and breathe freely in San Jose and not run away just because a neighbor is bullying and sell a home and be in hiding.
Yep. Neil, Kevin, we lost our son in 2006, and then now we are watching another child being a wonderful kid, being destroyed by all this. I mean, she's a lot better now, but we don't know what goes on. She's not having a normal childhood. As a 16-year-old, she should be able to be free to move around. Yeah. It's tough. I've lost substantially all of our life savings to legal fees. And we have no hope of recovering anything because he keeps playing the system like this. And it's horrible, horrible, horrible. Every lawyer we appoint, he shoots them down. We have seen 47 to 48 lawyers from Burlingame all the way to Southern California. Some of them know this guy. And they said, "We are sorry, Mr. George, but we know who he is. He's a jerk." But that's it. But I mean, what about us? We live here. And we have to keep on facing this on a day-to-day basis. It's horrible. I really hope this draws attention. It's not just about us. It's about my Vietnamese, my Singaporean neighbors, and other neighbors. One of them was crying on my shoulder. "Why did I buy a house over here, Mr. George? We are being harassed and we are being bullied."
Yeah.
It doesn't
Let this be a lesson to all of us. We I'm very sorry we have to hear your story as part of the lesson that we can all hopefully learn and grow from. But the fact is there are legitimate cases of bigotry and racism, torment and torture and abuse to this day that unfortunately you and your family have to endure as sort of representative of what can happen and what does happen still. Your case is a legitimate one of bigotry and racism, and we as Americans, all Americans, need to stand against it.
Yes.
As Neil said at the beginning, the Jussie Smollett stories and this and that people try to sensationalize to make up stories to try to say that they've endured some form of racism. That's garbage. What you're enduring and what you're having to endure for the past 4 years, your entire family, it's just shameful. It's we're very sorrowful to hear stories like this. But first, I don't think that your story is the only story. I believe that throughout America we have enclaves of people who are enduring the same kind of abuse. And what we need to be able to do as neighbors is open our eyes and look for opportunities to intervene and to make sure that we don't fall into the trap of abusing our neighbors or being bigoted and racist towards people just because they look different or have different skin tone or whatever. And so but the amount of I applaud you for hanging in there. I mean, 4 years with this kind of abuse. But on the other hand, we're going to continue to pray for you. We're going to continue to support you with letters of support going to these agencies to make sure that something is done about this. 4 years is way too long for this to have
Yes.
been carried on for so long. So
Mm.
our prayers are with you, our support is with you, and we'll put up the link so everybody can help in some way, even a small way, and help to end this level of abuse for you and your families.
So
Thank you.
thank you very much. Thank you for being on thing. Thanks for sharing the story, because this is important. We want to be an instrument of God's justice. Yes, please.
You know, you both understand my English, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, this guy says, when I try to talk to reason with him, he says, I can't understand your English, and he blocks me like that.
That's a very racist tactic, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Again, please take
Thank
action.
you.
Don't just
Thank
let
you.
this go. Take action. Make this happen. Share. You can look at the email. Send an email. Don't think, oh yeah, I'm just one person. No, a lot of one persons will make a big difference. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Koshy and Sheba.
Thank you,
Again,
Neil and
sorry,
Kevin.
and our prayers are with you. God bless.
God bless.